I want to start with a big thank you to Billy and Rock for taking the time to be here today for this live stream. We have an amazing topic. We're talking today about dead projects and maybe projects that don't want to accept that they're dead. But what we're going to talk about is companies who are trying to survive this crypto cycle, companies that are trying to make it through, see the light at the end of the tunnel. And we have very, very special guests on the stream today. We've got Billy. Billy's the founder of BlockBuzz. BlockBuzz is a creative marketing and growth studio. Billy herself is a crypto OG. She has launched and founded multiple projects in crypto. I'm gonna give our guests the floor in just a second, and we also have Rock on the call. Rock is the Web3 growth lead at BlockBuzz. Do you want to introduce yourselves with a few words? Let's start with Billy.
Hey to everyone. Thank you for participating in this. I'm very happy to speak in front of the Soul Sisters. I'm part of it. I'm hyped about it. So, Vanina, thank you for the invitation. Yes, I will not frame myself as an OG, but on the other side, I have a huge book with lessons what not to do in Web3. Now I'm trying to start my book with what to do correctly and how to be successful in Web3. And yeah, as Vanina said, at the moment I'm focused on BlockBuzz. It's a product marketing focused company that is supporting projects, founders, founding teams. And yeah, I really believe that Web3 is something that will be part of our life, and it will not be divided by Web 2, Web 3, Web 4, because I think we are a step before Web 4. So yeah, I think that this is something that we will live with on a daily basis very soon. And yeah, I'm passionate about it, so I will share all my insights, feedback, experience with you today on the how to rebuild and to make something working.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Billy. How about you, Rock? I know that you have been in the space for quite a while as well.
Oh yeah, it's been like 10 years now, nearly 10 years. And I was just thinking about what to say. I'll just put it like this. I've been through pretty much any marketing related role or position in the Web3 since I started 10 years ago. First as a community manager, and then I kind of, like I said, I've seen it all. I've mostly seen things that don't work, and I'm trying to, convince people how to do things right in order to make it work. And this is where I'm very much aligned with Biljana. So I was extremely happy when I joined BlockBuzz, because I believe that, we're not one of those generic agencies where we just stick to like cookie cutter plan or like cookie cutter approach, if you want. And like found myself in a very nice place and with very cool people. So happy to discuss what needs to be done in order to keep the fire alive, I would say.
That is fantastic. Fantastic. I have to admit that I'm coming in with the big questions today. We're not going to be sugarcoating things. We're not going to be giving generic advice like, oh, you just post 3 times a day on Twitter and you're going to be fine. That is not what we're here for. I've brought the big guns, and I know that you have as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Your agency, BlockBuzz, helps crypto projects grow, but right now the market is kind of brutal for all of us, and I think that everyone is feeling the squeeze, even well-funded projects. So before talking about how you help save other people's companies and projects in crypto, I want to ask you, what is your personal, well, like not personal, but like agency 90-day comeback plan? Like, do you have that contingency plan, and what happens if you are the project that needs to come back?
So I will take this one. Rock, if you want, just jump while I'm speaking. During this market, to be honest, we are all the time in this 90-day comeback plan. And something that we learned in the maybe last 6 months was to work heavily with iterations, like trying to validate the product market fit of our company all the time. Like, let's say today we are focusing on on-chain growth, on-chain performance campaigns. We are trying to validate this concept, like pushing, looking for feedback first from all the projects that we are supporting, what their feedback will be, and then we are evaluating if this makes sense or not, if it's something that we need to push further and further or not. And something that we've learned during our journey is not to be emotional, because business at the end of the day is business. There are things that might work and things that will not. And you need to pull back and see the clear picture of what is working and what you need to scratch, and then just to leave it behind. And we are in this process for the last 6 months, I believe, like validating, like iterating and improving. Because as you said, our company is like every other project. We are trying to sell something, validate, and at the end, finding our product market fit. And during this journey, we found out, for example, for us, that our best niche is to work with founders and founding teams. As you said, myself, I'm a founder. And it's very easy for me to communicate with founders and to understand their struggle, because most of the marketers, they don't get what is to be a founder, and there is a huge gap between these two type of personas: the founders or founding teams, co-founders, CTOs, and the marketing people. They're speaking in totally different languages, and most of the time there is a lot that get lost in the translation between two of them. And our position lately was defined like, the perfect spot where we are sitting, and the gap that we are filling is between founders and potentially marketing people, or to work closely with the founders even in the phase where they don't still have marketing teams. And again, this 90-day comeback plan, we are all the time in this plan, because it's needed. And I think this makes us flexible and agile and competitive at the end of the day. But here the main risk is not to leave this to lead to chaos. Still to have
Right.
hope, still to focus on our use case, to focus on the success of your clients and projects that you are supporting.
And
So
maybe if I can
basically-
add, oh, sorry,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes, Rob.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, so basically like organized, constant iteration
Yes.
and experimentation.
Yes.
Pretty
All right.
much, yeah. And
Yeah.
just to add to what Billy explained, so I think our biggest asset is the fact that we don't do any generic stuff. Yeah. So usually there's a project that is either disappointed over the previous agency, or like they just haven't had the right approach when it comes to growth. They might have a product out, and or maybe not. But the fact is that yeah, they have been talking to a couple of agencies. They weren't impressed. They saw that that would bring very little value. And this is usually a time for us to shine because, like I said, we do take time to analyze things properly. We're not doing that in the most conventional way, but yeah, we don't take any. Yeah, I'll say it again. We hate cookie cutter approach when it comes to anything. So I believe, I mean, at least as far as I can tell, based on my involvement with agencies or whatnot, this is our biggest and strongest asset.
All right. Yeah. And I kind of wanted to talk about that later in the conversation, but this is a good segue basically, because what I've noticed as somebody who has worked with multiple agencies, I have been a part of one of the bigger agencies in the space, and the one thing that I can conclude is that the playbook of the agency is to push the playbook usually. So as you said, providing cookie cutter generic approaches, tell people, oh, just post 3 times a day, and it doesn't really lead to a lot in terms of result for the customers. So there's this big elephant in the room, and I kind of want to address it. What do you think? Why do agencies other than that? Why do agencies in the space have such a bad reputation? Because if you ask people if they have worked with an agency, the majority of the cases you're going to hear something like, ugh, don't get me started on that. There is a lot of overpriced agencies. There's a lot of vanity metrics, a lot of pushing KOL deals that, again, they're cookie cutter. They don't really deliver the results. But because everybody's doing it, oh, let us do it as well. Why do you think that is, and how are you different?
So as you said, my experience with working with a big agency with a good reputation was pretty similar. And the first disappointment was that a team of something like 25 people in a period for, I think, 1 month, they didn't get how this technology works. And if you don't understand the product, how you can market it properly, like how you will define the benefits, how you will define the personas, to who to speak, how to speak. So all of these questions, they need to be put on the table, because this was my expectation when I'm working with a huge agency with a huge retainer. And at the end of the day, I realized that this is a playbook. Like, you will have 4 posts per day. Then we will invite a lot of bots to start pushing the numbers. And all of these approaches, as Rock said, for every project, the first phase of our commitment is to analyze and to understand what these people are building, the tech, why they believe that this is needed. Because we've had these examples of products that didn't have product market fit. And because we were concerned about this, we've proposed first to analyze if there is a need of this tool at all. And we started asking these questions. We did interviews with focus groups. And at the end of the day, we've got the feedback that not exactly this tool is needed, but a small twist of it. And we've sent the feedback to the founder, and he aligned with this and rebuilt this feature. But I think that this is something that led to the bad impression that most of them they are using the same strategies, not building custom ones, because to build a custom one, it took more time. I believe that they want to onboard as much as possible and as fast as possible more projects and start invoicing them. But and I think that the bad impression behind marketing agency in Web3 is starting somewhere around the ICO phase, around 2016, 17, 18, somewhere there, because at this point, yeah, it was like, oh, you need a marketing agency support. Oh, so this means that you can't create the hype organically. This was the insights for the VCs and the partners and users as well.
Also, at that time, we have to admit that we were literally printing money. So
All
we
of
had
us,
a lot of disposable income to burn as well.
yeah,
So perhaps we kind of like got ourselves into that vicious circle of we've got extra money, let's just spend it on something silly like an inefficient agency.
yeah. And there is another thing that back then no one understood, and no one required numbers and data and analysis. Everything was, oh, we have followers on X, great. We have Discord members, great. But no one was trying to connect, for example, the followers on X and on-chain activity. And the movement on the LTV, the increase of the TVL on the protocols, and if it is correlated with a marketing effort. So I think this is something additional that led to the bad impression around the marketing in Web3, is that it was lack of analytical insights.
All right. So for the people in the back who didn't hear as well, the bad agencies are the ones that care about vanity metrics. These are the ones that don't measure. These are the agencies that try to apply the same approach to all of the clients. And you can't really market something if you don't understand it very, very deeply. And this is what BlockBuzz does. All right, amazing. I'm going to circle back to our initial topic about dead projects and how to bring them back to life. Billy and Rock, when a project comes to you and says, hey, we're dead, we need help, what does dead actually look like? Paint me the picture. What are the symptoms?
I will start with the community. Rock, you can join as well. When the community is quiet, when they're flooded with bots, when the backholders are only complaining, founders only speak when there is a bad news or a token unlock. The content sounds like it's written only for the investors. Token is down badly, of course, most of the times. Product might exist, but there is no belief and nobody cares about it. And most of the content is some vague partnerships that are announced, but nothing happened at the end. And so users tried it once maybe, and they never came back. So most of the times this is the picture. And this is Rock. Do you want?
For me, it's pretty much the same. So I consider project dead when there is very limited, or let's say where there's no signal from the community. Yes. So if the socials are dead, if there are actually no channels where certain project would be discussed, then I think it's not. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to kind of realize that this project has very little chances to actually succeed or to make any moves. So that would be my criterion.
Okay. And then in that case, if an agency comes and advises, oh, you got to do community building, but the project has like a Discord or a Telegram with like 40 real people and 3,000 bots, how do you restart that effort? Like, how do you rebuild that trust, and how do you get that community to send out, to broadcast that signal?
Mm-hmm. Maybe I can start here with an example. So we have a project, a client that we work on. It's a kind of a commodities trading platform, so to speak. It's called Sphinx. If you care to Google it. And when we got involved, it was essentially a graveyard. Yeah, so there was a shadow banned X account. They owned a hacked Discord server, which did a lot of damage to them, and there was also a dead Telegram channel. So what actually happened, what we realized that it happened earlier, was that Sphinx onboarded one of those Web3 marketing agencies that just spent quite some funds. They somehow inflate the numbers, and then they pretty much vanish because, everyone realizes there's no use of them. So as we discussed earlier, I mean, it's how it usually works in Web3 marketing. So agency comes in, it runs a paid campaign, buys some followers, maybe partners with the KOL, with the questionable reach on top, just a kind of a KOL who will shill anything for a quick buck. And temporarily numbers go up, clients get excited, and 2 months later, the engagement is dead because there was never anything real underneath the whole strategy. Yeah. So, and the agency already moved forward at that point. So founders are stuck with, I would say, in a worse place than they were before coming to certain agency. So Sphinx, obviously, they've been through that. And on top of everything, they had every reason, if you want, to think that we were the next scam walking through the door. Yeah.
And they were.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's normal. Yeah. We say here in Slovenia that if you get bitten by a snake, you get scared of a rope. So makes perfect sense here. So we actually onboarded them. So BlockBuzz onboarded Sphinx as a client. But there were some issues, yeah. So we didn't have any budget to work with, and there was also no exact timeline for the actual product. So it's the worst, yeah. The team actually had some vague ideas and plans, which they communicated with us clearly, but essentially there was nothing. There was no white paper. There was like a landing page. And there was a Telegram channel with a couple of thousand, no, I think it was around 1,000 or 2,000 members. And there was also a previously mentioned shadow banned X account with like 20K bots present that eventually got purged, and the number diminished to, I think it was around 5K. So that was our starting point. Again, my biggest worry and my biggest issue was the fact that there is no timeline. There was like a promise of a product, what it would do, but no timeline for it. And again, this was our starting point. So what we did, and we're still doing actually, but the first thing we did was we opened a new Discord server with proper security this time, and it hasn't been breached yet or at all. Till now, so that's a good thing, good sign, and that mattered because if a project is hacked, that's something that nobody forgets, right? So luckily there wasn't like a huge community that would keep dragging this fact for on and on, but still it's something that needs to be. Project needs to be mindful of that constantly. The next thing we did was we started to focus on X account. So we were posting at the beginning. We were posting 3 times a week, but just because they were kind of hassling our retainer, and we had to lower the scope. But eventually, sooner rather than later, we reached what we were kind of asking for, which was 6 posts per week, which is something that we still do. And I believe we all know that like posting on X 3 times a week won't contribute to any growth or anything like that. So that was our little win, the consistency. And we also got on Telegram. But that wasn't the game changer. So the game changer was we actually built a points leaderboard system. Yeah, nothing fancy, nothing new, and it mainly lived on Discord. But we also made sure that it was beneficial across all the platforms where Sphinx was present. So X, Telegram, Discord. We also utilized Reddit at some point and made sure that everything fed into this. And why this actually mattered is the fact that people, they need something to work toward. Yeah. So not just vague promises, not early access or you'll be a founding member or an OG or you'll get the reach. They care about actual and trackable progress. So points that mean something because they convert to the testnet rewards. That was our only promise, and something that, yeah, I mean, it's not going to be, we're not going to rock people or break this promise, because eventually those points, if the product is released and if the product works, those points will convert into tokens somehow. Yeah, that was our only promise, and again, we gave people reasons to come back, like many reasons, and they could track their progress and like contribute in any way they can, not just generating some useless AI fluff, and that was it. In order to get this done as automatically as possible, we came up with some custom bots. We also paid some. We are also paying some services to be able to verify all the stuff that we ask people to do. But it's not, when it comes to expenses, it's not an overhead, because if you remember, we still don't have any incentives or marketing budget for that project per se. So we're kind of forced to cut the corners on that. But yeah, like I said, not an abundance of funds to make this happen. And the progress has been, yeah, I'll just say, considering what is known and how much info the team is actually leaking, we are doing tremendous job.
So basically, you came up with a mechanism to reward people, but rather than attracting bonus seekers and, you know, the little mercenary users who are not really your users, you found a way to engage people long term so that they get invested with the project and they stay for the long run and they potentially become brand ambassadors in the long run. So that's super smart.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's the fact that people, they need constant incentive. That's where we were coming from. And how do you incentivize people if you don't have financial means to do that? Which is also like terrible when it comes to project success, but still it's the cookie cutter approach for many of the projects out there. So yeah, you just need to come up with a plan how you can actually approach the project. How can you actually make people feel as if they matter? Yeah. Right. So that was our main kind of goal, and you can achieve that through many layers. Let's say the first thing we did was, because it's quite complex, the thing that Sphinx does, we simplified the narrative. And like when we were creating copies or blog posts or whatever, I kept asking myself and the copywriters, like, what's it in for the people? Like, why would people care about this? Obviously, there's a layer of education and stuff like that, but you know, that's the main thing that we still ask ourselves for like very complex projects, is like, what's it in for me? Because most of the readers that will come across your X post or blog post, they will ask themselves like, what's it in for me? Like, how can I benefit from this? How can I make some extra buck on this? Not through incentives program, but I don't know, through trading, whatever, you know? So that's the main thing that we keep in mind when we are crafting any kind of campaigns or copies.
And again, just to circle back a little bit to what we talked about earlier, this type of thinking, it requires you understanding the product and the community. You need to dive deep. You need to understand where they're coming from, what happened in the history of that company to lead to where they are, so that you can basically do a post-mortem, if you wish. I know that, I'm continuing with those very morbid metaphors, and I'm sorry about that, but they feel very, very suitable here. So you kind of dove in, did the post-mortem, did the autopsy, figure out what went wrong, and started from scratch to rebuild. And then a question that I have here, and I'm kind of wondering, not just in the case of Sphinx, but in the case of any crypto project that is going dormant, how much do you think is self-inflicted versus marketing conditions? Because I know that a lot of companies would go under and they would complain about the market and how terrible it is and how, their treasury was gone in no time. But if you look under the magnifying glass, you see that they didn't do a lot of marketing and they didn't do a lot of product development, or they didn't really have a proper product market fit. So what do you think? And I feel that a lot of founders and a lot of teams are kind of using the market to blame for their own inefficiencies. Where do you think is the border between bad market and there's literally nothing we can do in this market, and we have a strategy problem?
So I believe that the bear market, yes, it amplifies, but the weak strategies. And during bear, liquidity and overall activity is lower, attention is lower, retail is more, I would say, picky and cautious. But a lot of bear market problems, in my opinion, are actually positioning, product market fit problems, and trust problems. So yeah, some founders, they blame the market because it is easier than saying, yeah, we never knew who our user was, or we over-promised, or we optimized for short-term hype and not for long-term retention. We've built community around token price, not the product value. And my favorite one is we launched too early. So yeah, it's more difficult to launch and to be successful in bear, but there are a lot of examples that are doing good even in the bear. So if you have a product market fit, I believe even the bear can't be a problem.
So the one thing that we should take away here is, if you have the suspicion, and I know that it's very hard to look inside, and the introspection is brutal sometimes, but if you have the suspicion that your project is not succeeding because of a strategy issue and not just because of the market, you can always reach out to an agency that can help you analyze what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong and what could be improved, so that you can get an extra set of eyes and maybe an objective opinion from a bystander who can tell you, hey, I know you think it's all the market, but it's not all about the market. Maybe you can do this and this and this.
You can do an audit, like not to commit or to sign a long-term contract, but you can ask just for an audit, brand audit, product audit, analysis of the product market fit. And then to see a picture from another angle. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And speaking of audit, there's a special surprise coming at the end of the stream from the BlockBuzz team. So stay with us until the end if you want to get in on the action. And now, walk me through the process. A project has flatlined. The community is dead. It's a ghost time. Token is down like 99%. What's the first thing that you do? How do you start to untangle this?
The first one, the audit, as we mentioned. Audit combined because different people from our team will start with different tasks. Of course, audit is one of them, and the other one is market research, because the audit will focus on the product, on the community, if there is any, the community health, the product itself, the brand, the positioning, the narrative, the storytelling. And the market research needs to show us what is the competitive landscape, what is the product market fit of this project. And then after the first month, we will be aware of what we are dealing with. And the next 30 days, most of the times, we are focusing on to rebuilding and to start focusing on what needs to be changed and to build the strategy around this. It might be changes in the product. It might be changes in the flows of onboarding the users. It might be changes in the messaging, because something that we are facing lately very often is not dead projects, but new projects that are just about to launch and they're not prepared for launch at all. They've built the tech, but they will not build anything marketing or retention related. So we are these people that are, again, it's an audit, like, how ready are you for the launch? And we are these people that are like, okay, yeah, the tech is ready, but it's not enough. So go back and build XYZ, because we will need it if you want to start onboarding people. And yeah, it's a matter of first audit, then building the strategy. And then, as for our example, for the comeback, start with iterations. As Rock said already, you need to find these small pieces from the puzzle that will make the people care about you and stay long.
And if we're talking about the 90-day window, what does that process usually look like in terms of a timeline? Do you split it equally, like 30 days for audit and market analysis, and then 30 days for building the strategy and then for iteration? Or is there like a different timeline for every project? How does it work?
It's some of the times it's different, because it depends where we need to focus more. But the first month is always focused on auditing and market research. And then the second and the third, then they can be different based on the project, the need. So then it's a custom strategy.
All right. And then I have a little bit of a cheeky question here, because you mentioned that you're very often working with projects that come to you with a tech that is ready to ship, and they haven't even started thinking about marketing, let alone doing marketing. So the cheeky question here is, when does marketing start?
Day -1.
Right?
Yes. And I can prove this, because almost every day I'm talking with founders, and some of them, they're pretty happy to present me that they're ready. And I'm like, not exactly. And I start asking questions, and they're like, oh, yeah, we don't have this, we don't have that, we are not prepared for this one. Oh, do we need this? Oh, yeah, we might need this. And yeah, the marketing needs to be implemented organically in the product, in the platforms, in the protocols, in the dApps, because this is the way how it works. The other way is like to open a shop somewhere in the woods and to think that the customers will come. It's not like this.
Yeah, my favorite type of client are the people that come in and they go like, oh, we have a working product. We have a TGE in 3 months, so we need to build a community.
Now we need the community.
And of course, organic. We need to do things organically. We're not into bots,
Oh my God. Look, when I asked the question, I knew what your answer would be, because you have been doing that for a long time. And to this question, there's only one answer. To me, yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that a lot of companies and a lot of starting businesses, they think that they can start with the product, figure out the product, and then once they have a working product, they're going to figure out how to market it. But as Billy said, that's not how it works. You need to have your marketing built into the product as well.
And
So
if you don't know how to build it, because we are talking here about small teams. Most of the times it's the CTO, one or two co-founders, one is with the marketing head, just because he needs to fill the gap. And these people are with and I can understand why. They're like, yeah, but the runaway, we need to ship in order to raise them. And I can totally understand that. For these periods, they can hire an advisor or to use the services on a fractional basis, like to have someone who has experience and can navigate from product perspective what they will need afterwards. So it's not such a huge commitment, and at the end of the day, it's better these features to be built in on an early stage and not after to postpone the launch and get back to the development phase, because you need to deal with, for example, for incentivization programs, most of the time you need to
you need to figure out the token distribution in advance.
Yeah. And you're dealing then with second audits because you've changed the smart contract logic. So it's
exactly.
Yeah.
For a lot of companies, marketing boils down to, let's have a Twitter account and post silly stuff there. It is so much more than that. It's so much more than having an X account and a Telegram community. Your marketing starts with your internal rewards program. You need to figure out retention and acquisition way in advance. You need to figure out your gamification so that all these features are built into the product. And as you said, you don't have to go back to the drawing board or have a second security audit of your smart contracts and all of that.
And also, I mean, you're missing out on a big piece of puzzle if you're starting your marketing efforts too late. So once the product is kind of polished already, it's attracting the die-hard fans. So the real ambassadors, the people that have feeling that they contributed to the actual product outcome, or that they helped shaping the final product. Those are the die-hard fans. And I remember back in 2017 and 18, like the communities that I liked, they were like extremely tight. No more than 3,000 people in one Telegram channel, but all of them were active. The ideas were popping, like the conversation never stopped, and there were no bots, no shillers, no engagement army, or whatever you want to call it. It was just natural conversation, and good projects, they capitalized from that.
There were a lot of rewards going around back then, but there was also a lot of cultural belonging. You would stick to the community of a project that you felt close to your values, and a project that was solving a problem that you really felt deeply about. And I feel that we have kind of lost a bit of that with time, which is a natural part of the process. The industry is maturing, so it makes sense. But I feel that we can still have that, and we still do that. An example that I have here is 00. If you look at what they're doing, and like, obviously they are a blue ocean kind of project, which makes sense. but they're solving a real problem for a lot of people, and a lot of people have that sense of belonging, and they connect and relate to that project, so they become inadvertent brand ambassadors. And that's so there's still room for that type of pathos and ethos in the space. So yeah, amazing. We keep hearing about like building in the bear market, and we are in the bear market right now. Projects are continuing until they have, the end of runways a lot of times. But what should we be building and preparing right now so that when the market turns, we're not scrambling? Do you have any insight into that?
I would say this is perfect. Those conditions are perfect for growth phase. Yeah, just work on your socials, work on your product, work on the BD side, just to be ready when the market gets ripe. Yeah, this is what I've seen quite some projects do. What it was like a year ago. Now it's 2 years ago already, when the market started. I mean, when things turned green again, and I had to analyze a couple of projects, and I actually realized that they were in the growth phase for like 1.5 years, maybe even more, like 2 years, just like growth. And as soon as market turned green, and as soon as the grid factor kicked in, they did a TGE, and they did a successful one, because they had they ticked all the squares. Yeah. So that's what I think is the smartest decision a team can pull right now. Just invest time, efforts, and finances into growth and marketing related stuff right now.
So basically build like we're in a bull market, so that when the real bull market comes, you're ready to explode.
Yeah, so, I mean, you don't need to commit to any time frame or anything. You just have to have a plan and people that will grind on incentivizing the community and future community members. Because like, as I mentioned earlier, this part of the deal never stops. I mean, you have to come up with incentives, and you have to make it realistic, and you have to make it reachable. But yeah, like just grow and nurture your community and your base, so that will tremendously increase your chances at the TGE if you plan it right.
Right. I feel that the bear run gives us, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but I feel that it gives us the luxury of time and of doing more iterations and more experiments and closing the feedback loops, so that we can actually perfect the product even more before going to market. So I appreciate what you're saying, and it resonates with me a lot. So that's amazing. All right. And then I have one last question for you guys. And that question is, and be brutally honest with me, if you were a founder right now and your project was struggling, you had limited runway, would you hire a marketing agency, or would you spend that money somewhere else?
So I can say about me personally, sorry for jumping in. I wouldn't, but that's easy. It's because I know how to do it myself. So I wouldn't onboard an agency.
All right.
Yeah, I would find someone who can guide me, and I would use this person to discuss what I'm thinking and to validate my ideas. And then we'll start experimenting. If I have a limited runway, yeah, I would be cautious about it. And
Right.
that's why I was sharing the concept with the fractional rows, because it's a very safe, from cost perspective, way to have a support when and for what you needed.
Yeah. Because that's the one thing that, and the reason I'm asking you this question is because we have all seen that, not just in Web3, but in any industry around the world, we've seen that time and time again. When markets are tough, the first thing that gets cut off is marketing and growth. The budgets for marketing and promotion and community and events, that goes down the drain. And then projects wonder why they struggle even more. And I know that, all three of us here on this call, we are marketers, so we're probably very, very biased. But what I would do in situations like that is I would actually redirect money from other branches into marketing and into growth, just to make sure that I give my project a viable chance of survival. But that's just me. I don't know. As I said, I'm very, very biased. I'm a marketer. A lot of things I know how to do myself. I know how to prompt Claude and ChatGPT to do stuff. So, so I'm biased, but I guess that even if I were not a marketing person, probably that would be my go-to reaction, to be like, hey, let's just figure out how we can bring in users and revenue streams in this market, rather than cutting off marketing and hiring one more developer to develop features that may or may not be necessary.
And I think that we didn't mention to look for the feedback of the users, because most of the founders there, they are so confident that the thing that they are building is so needed. Very few of the projects are looking for real feedback from the users. And I believe this is something that Web3 needs to learn from Web2, to make surveys, focus groups, and collect feedback, and then to analyze this feedback and improve the features based on the real feedback. Because after all, we are building for these users.
I think that we're all guilty of that, and so many of us. My personal explanation for that is that the technology is very new and very exciting, and all of us want to see, even the non-technical people, we want to see what we can do with this technology. So we come up with this craziest features that are only possible because we have this new tech in our hands, and we build them, but nobody actually needs those features and nobody really wants to use them. So we go into that spiral of over-engineering. And I always like to give this example here. My nephew, when he was about a year and a half old, he was on a walk with his mother in the park, and they saw a beautiful peacock. So his mother goes and says, "Hey, look at that gorgeous peacock." The little one stops, looks at the peacock, and goes, "It's chicken." So,
after all, yes.
Sometimes we kind of like want to build a peacock, and what the user needs is a chicken. And that's what we should give to our users so that they can pay us.
There is an additional complexity layer that we are adding to the peacock. We are inventing our own language. So if it's a peacock, we will call it Phoenix.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of inventing new words, and we are making it even more complicated for the normal people, and then we are asking, oh, why we have a problem with the adoption.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're coming to the end of our stream. Thank you so much, Billy and Rog. This has been a fascinating discussion. I wish we could continue it, but maybe we should schedule like a second part of that conversation. But before we go, I promised a special surprise, and this is what we have, courtesy of BlockBuzz, Billy, Rog, and the rest of the team. There are special perks for Soul Sisters community members. So if you're a member of our community, or if you have tuned in for this live stream, you will be able to take advantage of special pricing up until, I believe, June 1st is the date. Let me just check. Yes, until if you sign up before June 1st, you will be able to take advantage of special preferential pricing. And that's not all. There's a second surprise, and that is a free audit raffle. So we will publish a form that you can fill in, and then there's going to be a raffle where you're going to get a special deep dive audit of your marketing and your strategy to help with your project, and you're going to get that for free. Take a look keep an eye on your inboxes. We're going to send information about that to everyone who signed up for our Luma event. We're also going to post that on the Soul Sister community on Telegram. So if you haven't joined, make sure to join it. And there will be instructions on how to get in touch with BlockBuzz to level up your project. Even if your project is not dead, you don't need to have a dead project to do that.
Even
if you
better.
are
Even better.
Exactly. Even if you're very much alive and kicking, you can never have too much marketing and growth help and support. So make sure to get in touch with BlockBuzz. And to everyone who tuned in today, thank you for being with us. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, you know how to find us. And we'll see you the next time. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for having us, Vanina.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for being here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.